Right? Because the discussion is, what brings you a good life? What is the cause of having a good life? Is it wealth? We've already discussed wealth. Wealth can make things easy for you. It can make an easy life. It can bring you some pleasure and enjoyment. But in and of itself, it can't bring you happiness. And we know that the world is evidence of that. The world is evidence of that. The most miserable people, the most wretched people are the most wealthy. And those in whose lives and families is turmoil and differing and separation and hatred and enmity and fighting against each other and fighting over, could be inheritance or property or whatever else it might be. They're the wealthiest of people, but their lives are made miserable by way of these disputes and so on and so forth. So, we know this from experience. So, likewise, people who are the wealthiest, their children are ruined, destroyed. They are imbeciles, incompetent, spoiled, right? And so we know this from experience, that wealth simply cannot be a principal and chief cause of happiness and a good life. So this brings us now to al-kalimatu tayyibah, which is the good word. The good word. And this obviously is the declaration, La ilaha illallah, the testimony that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah. And in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal has given a parable of this word, this kalima. He says about this kalima, يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. Allah says, Allah will make firm those who believe with a firm statement. A firm statement. Allah will make firm those who believe with a firm statement in the life of this world and in the hereafter. And Allah misguides the wrongdoers, and Allah does whatever He wills. This is in Surah Ibrahim, the chapter on Abraham, chapter number 14, verse number 27. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions how the believer, He makes him firm in the life of this world by way of a statement he makes. By way of a statement. And that statement is the kalima La ilaha illallah. This is the kalima of Iman. Kalimatul Iman. And this kalima, this statement that we make, that we testify, that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah alone. This is something that, we say with the tongue, obviously. It is firmly believed in by the heart. And, the senses are established upon it. And it is firmly rooted in our fitrah. The fitrah, the natural inclination that we are born with. We are born with this natural inclination and this disposition to recognize a creator by way of his signs that we see, and to want to be grateful to him. Right? This is something that every human is born with naturally. And if a child was left on its own to simply grow up, it by its own intuition, just pure intuition, inclination, would see things, and the child knows certain truths which are from the fitrah. Right? The child knows that two things can't be in one place at the same time. There are certain things that the child knows instinctively. Right? And so the child will want to worship and be grateful to Allah Azza wa Jal. So this kalima, the meaning of this kalima, the fitrah, is inclined towards it. And it is firmly rooted in the fitrah. And likewise, it is also something that brings fruits in terms of actions, in terms of your righteous actions. And it is something whose fruits are recurring, repeating, in its life. So, this parable in the Quran, we see that Allah Azza wa Jal, this is how He's described it, Allah will make firm the believer by way of this kalima. And not only that, there are also other statements in the Quran, His Quran as a whole. He makes the believers firm by way of the Quran, by what He has revealed of the Quran. He makes the believers firm by way of the statements, the speech of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and likewise by way of the promises He makes to the believer, the promises of His aid, of His support, of supporting the truth, and having success in the hereafter. So, the point being here that this statement that we make, La ilaha illallah, it is the truest statement. This is the truest statement. This is the truth upon which the heavens and the earth stand. Right? So when we say this kalima, La ilaha illallah, the heavens and the earth, they stand and they are created upon and with this truth. So everything that we mentioned here, the kalima, La ilaha illallah, the speech of Allah in the Quran, the speech of the Messenger, all of these are true statements. They are true words. There's no incoherence between them. There's no contradiction between them. And, when we acquire these words, when we acquire these statements, then there's no confusion, there's no contradiction, there's no incoherence. We are not confused or bewildered by the kalima and everything which branches from it. Right? What does this mean, and what connection does this have to having a good life? Right? The connection is that this kalima, La ilaha illallah, which is the foundation, then everything which springs from this kalima, everything else, from Allah's revelation and the guidance and the wisdom and the justice that comes, the justice that Islam has come with, right? The justice, the equality, the goodness, and everything else that emanates from that, all of it is coherent, it fits with each other, and there's no incoherence, and it guides to that which is best. However, if you look at every other, what is claimed to be guidance, or every other creed, or every other ideology, or even altered religion which, came and was altered, like what has happened with the religion of the Jews, religion of the Christians and others, you look into all of these things, you find that there's no coherence or satisfaction therein. Because the asl of it is not upon this kalima, La ilaha illallah. And you will find tremendous incoherence, inconsistence, contradiction. It's just by way of example, an atheist, for example, who says, there's no meaning or purpose behind this life. There's no meaning or purpose behind this life, and there's no such thing as justice. It's just raw evolution and survival of the fittest. That's okay then, let me take a gun and shoot you in the head. Are you happy with that? Well, no, I'm not. Well, why aren't you? Because it's the survival of the fittest. If I come and shoot you in the head and take your wealth, take your car, take whatever, what's wrong with that? I am now the fittest and you're gone. Why is it wrong for me to do that? So if he says, no, it's wrong for you to do that, then he just contradicted everything he said. That life is meaningless, purposeless, it's just raw survival of the fittest, and there's no real true sense of justice. We just compel it. There's incoherence, right? So this is a big contradiction. And you will find the same thing, in every other ideology, philosophy, or whatever it might be. So the point being that the connection to the kalima of La ilaha illallah, which is the truest word that can be said, it is what the heavens and the earth are they are created upon this, and everything that emanates from that, the revelation of Allah and the speech of the Messenger and whatever he has revealed and legislated, right, of the righteous deeds, of wisdom, and everything else, all of it is completely coherent. So when you follow that, it gives you satisfaction, right? There isn't any, like I said, incoherence. There isn't anything niggling in the back of your mind. Well, there's nothing of that nature. And so, when a person drinks from this guidance, then obviously, it gives him satisfaction and serenity and calmness and pleasure and being content and all these qualities which the heart feels content and pleased with. So the point being that the kalima la ilaha illallah, the example of this kalima in the Quran, as Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, "Alam tara kayfa daraba Allahu mathalan." Have you not seen how Allah gives the example? Kalimatan tayyiba, the example of a good word. Kashajaratin tayyiba, like that of a good tree. Asluha thabit wa far'uha fis sama. Its foundation, its root or its trunk, is firmly established, and its branches rise up to the sky. This is the parallel of the good word. And likewise, تُؤْتِي أُكُلَهَا كُلَّ حِينٍ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهَا, that it gives its fruits at every moment by the permission of its Lord. So here the example given of this tree is basically, it's the kalima. The kalima la ilaha illallah, its roots are firmly established in the heart of a believer, firmly established, and the fruits which it brings are the righteous deeds. And the righteous deeds, we know they raise up to Allah Azza wa Jal. This parable here of the kalima is the same as an actual tree, the parable of a tree that we see. We see a tree with its firm trunk, it's got roots deep and spread wide, it can't be moved, it can't be dislodged, and it brings its fruits, plentiful fruits. And so this is the parable of the kalima la ilaha illallah. So this is the kalima la ilaha illallah, as we said, as opposed to wealth, which we already discussed. The kalima la ilaha illallah is a foundation in happiness, in a good life, in being serene and calm and content, no matter what happens around you. Right? This is the kalima. This is one part of it. Then likewise also we see in the Quran that at-taqwa, which is to fear Allah, it is to fear Allah, to be cautious, to be aware of Allah, and to have the fear of Allah. This is also something that brings a good life, both in this life and the hereafter. And so in the Quran, we see that connected to taqwa, there are numerous returns that come to a believer. There are numerous returns that come to a believer in the life of this world before the hereafter for at-taqwa. And at-taqwa is, a key aspect of having a good life in the life of this world. We see that when a person, he clothes himself in at-taqwa, he takes at-taqwa as a garment, right? Taqwa is a garment that you put on yourself. And when you clothe yourself with this garment of taqwa, what it does is that it develops a personality and a character. It develops a certain type of personality and a certain type of character. And it is a type of character which is able to go out and to rectify the earth and to populate the earth, to rectify the earth. And As you know, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, what did they do? They accepted Iman, and they increased in their Iman, and they had taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. And because of that taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, just as Bedouins, who used to be in Jahiliyyah, whose society was, in Jahiliyyah, they conquered from the east to the west. And they populated the earth. And the major nations that were present, they were eclipsed. The Romans, the Persians, Byzantines, or whatever else. And they conquered the earth. What was this done with? Was it done with wealth? Or was it done with intelligence? Was it done with, some sort of skill or intelligence? No, it was the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because as we said, when a person has the taqwa of Allah, he fears Allah Azza wa Jal, and he knows Allah is watching him. And this taqwa is something that imprints certain qualities and traits in him and develops a certain type of character. That's the type of character that is going to do or going to be similar to the actions of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. That is the type of person that is going to guide mankind. That is the type of person that is going to have patience upon the trials and tribulations of life. That is the type of person that is going to be able to withstand and withhold mockery and ridicule. Right? The person who is clothed with taqwa, and then the traits and qualities that basically develops, which it brings in his character. So we see also that in the Quran that there is a connection made between, a clear connection between at-taqwa and all of the ingredients of a good life. Numerous verses. Let's give some examples. First example is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, in which He said, it's in Surah Al-Layl, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. As for the one, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى, as for the one who gave, meaning who gave in charity, and he had taqwa, right? He feared Allah. And he believed in al-husna. وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى. He believed in al-husna, meaning he believed in the kalima la ilaha illallah, according to one interpretation. What's the result of that? فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. We shall make easy for him the path to easiness. So here is a connection between at-taqwa, which is to fear Allah, to do what He commanded, keep away from what He prohibited. This is the meaning of taqwa, right? It is al-yusra. It means al-halu al-hasana al-mardiyya fi dunya wal-akhirah. This is having a good, pleasing state in this life and the hereafter. And this means that Allah Azza wa Jal will make it easy for you. So if you have taqwa of Allah, if you fear Allah and do what He commanded you, and keep away from what He prohibited you, He will then make easy for you He will then make easy for you further acts of obedience. So taqwa itself makes other acts of obedience easy for you. And obviously the opposite is true as well. So if you commit sin, then more sin will be made easy for you. And righteous deeds will become harder for you. So the more you spiral downwards, the more you engage in sin, the more sin is opened up for you. And likewise here, when you have taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah makes easier for you more acts of obedience. And He puts within your heart a dislike of disobedience and oppositions. And He makes Iman to be beautified in that person's heart. And likewise, he makes al-ihsan, which is benevolence and doing good. He makes that beautified also in a person's heart as well. So this obviously is one of the consequences, which is al-yusra. Al-yusra, we'll just explain what that means. A similar verse also in Surah Al-Talaq, which is the 65th chapter. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ يُسْرًا. Whoever fears Allah, has taqwa of Allah, He will make for him ease in his affair. He will make his affair easy. Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, he said that He will make easy for his affair, make it easy upon him, and give him relief which is near, and give him, like a route of escape from his hardship. And likewise, Muqatil, he said, "Man yattaqillaha," whoever fears Allah, fi ijtinabi ma'asih, in keeping away from disobeying Him, from the acts of disobedience, then He will make his affair easy for him in being granted success in obedience to Allah. And obviously, so in these two verses that we mentioned, is mentioned al-yusra, that which is made easy for you. No doubt, ease is a part of the good life. It's part of the good life. And also, the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, we see also in the same chapter, Surah Al-Talaq, the 65th chapter, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Whoever fears Allah, whoever has the taqwa of Allah, He will make for him a makhraj. A makhraj meaning a way of escape, a way out. And He will provide for him from directions that he does not anticipate. He will bring rizq to him from ways and directions that he does not anticipate. Imam al-Tabari rahimahullah, he said that يُسَبِّبُ لَهُ أَسْبَابُ الرِّزْقِ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَشْعُرْ وَلَا يَعْلَمْ. That Allah will He will create avenues, He will create means and ways of rizq from directions that he does not perceive, and nor does he know of them. And likewise others, they said, Allah will bless him, yubarik lahu fima atah. Allah will bless him in whatever He has given to him. Right, so this is now a second benefit of at-taqwa, which leads to a good life. The first one is al-yusra, general ease. Right, general ease in your life, and will make obedience easy for you, righteous deeds easy for you. Second is a makhraj, is a way, an escape, a way out of difficulty, hardship, poverty, and everything else. The third thing which you are given as a result of taqwa, which allows you to live a good life, which gives you a basira, gives you insight. Right? And this is from the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِن تَتَّقُوا اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ فُرْقَانًا. O you who believe, if you fear Allah, Allah will make for you a criterion. Allah will give you a criterion, a furqan. Furqan, what does this mean? This means that a person, he has clear vision, clear understanding about things, in this life, and he's able to distinguish between al-khata and as-sawab, between what is erroneous, what is correct, according to the sharia, according to the legislation, what is right and what is wrong, what is error, what is correct. And also, he will have the ability to know what is a reality and what is only just an assumption or a presumption, right? Because there are some people who know realities. They know the realities of things as they actually are. And there are other people who are on cloud cuckoo land. They assumptions, presumptions, just whim. They don't grasp things. They don't know things as they actually are, what they are upon. Right? So also, you know the haqa'iq as opposed to the awham. Right? So you know the realities as they are, as opposed to presumptions, assumptions. Likewise, the difference between al-haq wal-batil. You will know the difference between the truth and the falsehood, right? So this is a criterion in terms of knowledge and understanding by which you can decipher things and by which you can distinguish between what is correct, what is an error, what is an actual reality, what is just an assumption, what is truth, what is falsehood, whether in relation to the worldly affairs or the religious affairs. Right? Imagine having that ability and that quality. Imagine having this quality. Right? The problems in your life would be reduced, and your firmness in the religion would be increased. Right? And then when you combine the two together, you have sound knowledge of the world and its realities, what is beneficial for you, what is harmful for you. Right? And you combine that with knowledge of the religion. These two things are extremely powerful for you. Right? And obviously this is an ingredient, a component of having a good life. So as Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, in tattaqullah yaj'al lakum furqana. Oh, you believe, if you fear Allah, He will make for you a furqan. And the scholars have explained what does al-furqan, what does it mean? There are 3 or 4 statements. There are 4 statements mentioned by Ibn al-Jawzi, and first of them is al-makhraj, which means that again it's like a way of escape for you, a means of escape from difficulty and hardship and things of that nature. This was said by Abi Talha ibn Abbas, from Ibn Abbas and Ikrimah and Mujahid and others. And obviously the meaning here is Allah will make for you a makhraj in the religion from misguidance. This is what the meaning is here. Right? The furqan mentioned in this verse means that He will make you a means of escape from being misguided in religion. Because you have the criterion in terms of knowledge and sound creed and sound methodology. Right? Second meaning is that this means He will make for you a means of deliverance, safety. That you are rescued, that you are saved, and najat. This is also related from Ibn Abbas and Qatada and others. The third meaning here is Allah will make for you aid and support. He will give you nasr. He will give you aid and support. This is also related from Ibn Abbas. All these meanings are simultaneously correct. Right? There's no contradiction. They're all simultaneously correct. And also, the fourth meaning is that this means huda, guidance in the heart, by which you can distinguish between truth and falsehood. Guidance in the heart by which you distinguish between truth and falsehood. So all of these are meanings of furqan, the furqan that Allah gives to you, right? So now there are 3 things. An easy life, al-yusra, a makhraj, a way out of difficulty, hardship, poverty, and He will bring you rizq from ways and directions you didn't know, you don't expect. And also a furqan, a criterion, which means in terms of knowledge and guidance by which you can see truth from falsehood, benefit from harm, what is haqq and what is batil, and so on and so forth. This meaning is also found in another verse in the Quran, as mentioned by Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah, regarding the verse, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, the 2nd chapter, verse 282. 282. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Fear Allah, have the taqwa of Allah, and Allah will teach you. Allah will instruct you. وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah is knowledgeable of everything. So here, Al-Qurtubi said, rahimahullah, that Allah has promised, this is a promise from Allah, that if you have taqwa of Allah, He will teach him. Which means, as Al-Qurtubi says, يَجْعَلْ فِي قَلْبِهِ نُورًا يَفْهَمُ بِهِ مِنَّا يُلْقَى إِلَيْهِ. Right? That He will put in his heart light. There will be light put into his heart by which he can understand whatever is brought to him, whatever is presented to him. Right? So issues come to you, knowledge is brought to you, things happen to you. Whatever comes in your direction, that light in your heart allows you to understand it as it actually is. Right? And he says that Allah can put in his heart, a furqan, which means a faysalan. Yufassil bihi bain al-haqqi wal-batil. It puts in his heart basically a criterion, something by which he can distinguish and separate between truth and falsehood. So from all of this we can see that taqwa isn't something that we do only for the hereafter. Right? So when we have fear of Allah, obviously we know that there is paradise in the hereafter. Right? There is paradise in the hereafter. But that does not mean that taqwa does not have returns for the believer in the life of this world. And these numerous passages that we've looked at, they make it clear that a believer can have a good life as a consequence of having taqwa, because that taqwa itself leads to these things. Al-yusra, al-makhraj, having a furqan, and this makes your life very, very, very easy. So from all of this, we can see that the greatest happiness that a person can have is, first of all, having righteous deeds made easy for you. Having righteous deeds made easy for you. This is from the fruits of taqwa. Isn't this the good life? How is it some people, it's very easy for them to hastily be drawn towards good deeds. Very quickly they're able to give charity. Very quickly they're able to do the nawafil, fast, pray the nawafil. There's no hesitation, there's no laziness. It's very easy for them. And, very easy to make istighfar, very easy to make dhikr, and so on and so forth. How come there are people which are like that? And how come there are other people very sluggish, very lazy, next week or the week after or tomorrow or this evening or whatever, and they never seem to get anything done? Right? This is because the taqwa that is in the heart. The taqwa that is in the heart. So this is the first thing, which is part and parcel of having a good life, that good deeds are made easy for you. The second is that whatever needs you have, whatever your needs are, worldly needs, such as provision and clothing and shelter and safety and security and things like that, that is made easy for you. This now becomes made easy for you as well. Right? This is the second element. The third element is that your sustenance, your rizq, comes to you from directions that you wouldn't imagine. So if you have the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal, wealth, food, whatever it might be that you need to sustain yourself and your family and your children, it will come to you from directions that you wouldn't expect or imagine. And finally, basira, you have insight and knowledge and a criterion by which you can see between truth and falsehood. Imagine having all of these, 4 things. All of these 4 things are things that we've just discussed from those verses in the Quran.